This video will introduce you to the Moodle checklist module. Once you're in your course, turn editing on using the button in the top right corner. To add a new module, click Add an Activity, and from that, select Checklist. Add a checklist name, and a short description. Down in the settings, click Show More to show all of the menu options that you have for adding a checklist. The first feature is users can add their own options. You can set this to yes or no. This setting allows students to add additional items to the checklist you're creating. Who can make the updates? Is it only the student? Is it only the teacher? Or is it the student and the teacher? This indicates who can mark things off of the checklist. Do you want to add any due dates to the calendar? Yes or no? If you're using activities such as quizzes or assignments that already will set due dates and will send those due dates to the calendar, you might consider setting this to no. But there might be reasons that you would want to set this to yes. So just set this based off of your own personal preference and needs for your class. Teachers can add comments, yes or no. Do you want to be able to basically annotate the checklist for individual students? Maximum grade. This is an important field, and keep in mind, this is only visible when you expand this. You need to make sure to expand this. By default, a checklist is always set at 100 points. It's perfectly acceptable to have a checklist have a point value. I know I've heard from a number of teachers that they don't want the checklist to be a point value. They just want it to be used as a tool that won't impact the grade. If that's your preference, you can always set this to 0, or you can set it for any other point value. For right now, I'm going to set this to 0. Email when checklist is complete. Should an email notification be sent to the student only, to the teacher only, or to both the student and the teacher? Show the course checklist, the course modules in the checklist. I'm going to set this to no for right now, but that's a subject we're going to cover next. This setting we're not currently using in our Moodle installation, so I'm going to skip that. Lock teachers' marks. So if you've allowed the checklist to enable you as the teacher to mark things off, should those items be locked? Meaning, will the student be able to change any or remove any checklist check mark that you add, yes or no? You can set that there. And then once you've made all of the adjustments, click Save and Display, and you can start adding items to your checklist. So right away, you'll notice you're in the Edit Checklist tab. This is where you can begin to manually enter new items. If you want to associate due dates with any of these items, click Edit Dates, and a date selector appears. In order to use that, you need to uncheck that check mark there. So we're going to add the first item here, which is Lesson 1 is due. I can modify that date to anything that I need, and then once I've added that, I can click Add. You'll see that I have a number of options that I can use to modify this, so let's go through those. You'll notice this setting here. When I mouse over it, it says this item is required, it must be completed. So when you see that icon where it's a little box with a checklist or a check mark, that means that this item must be completed. Students must check this off in order to have the checklist be complete. If I click on it again, the icon will change, and now that item is optional. So a student may complete it, or they can choose to skip that. If I click it one more time, it goes to a dashed box, and that means this item is just a heading. So it's just a text heading, and it will not have a checkbox next to it. I can change the color, and I'm going to actually change this back so that it's a required item. I can change the color. And basically, you're just flipping through a color option. So red, yellow, there's about 10 different options. I can edit this item again by clicking the pencil, and I go right back to that modification option. I can indent or I can outdent, and I'll outdent this one so you can see what that one looks like. I can delete this option if I no longer want to use it. So let's add a different item so you can see. In this one, we will skip the due date. So there I have one that's indented from the other item. So once I've added all of those items, let's take a look at what our checklist looks like so far. So there's my checklist. I turned it yellow. This one has a due date. This one, you'll remember, doesn't have a due date, and I didn't modify any of the colors, and it's indented. So now what does this look like on the main course? So let's go back and see what it's going to look like to a student. So if I go back to my main course page, there's the checklist that I just set up. I can also access this if I'm a student by going to the checklist icon under Activities, and I will see all of the possible checklists. There's one that I just set up. We'll go through progress next when we actually look at how a student uses this. So a student goes through and marks things off. What does that mean for you as a teacher? So we're going to look at one that's been completed by students. So I can click on this View Progress, and you'll see this course has 2 students. This Unit 1, that's a header, so there's nothing that they can check off. Remember, headers don't have check marks. Mary's student has checked off the first and second item. Student LTI has not checked off anything. I can also look at this as progress bars. This is just a different way to visualize the data. Now you remember one of the options we had was the ability to add comments. So let's say we wanted to comment against Mary's student. We just click on that magnifying glass. So you'll see those are the 2 items that she had marked off. So let's add some comments. So you'll see I can mark off comments for any field. So let's say we wanted to make a comment here. Don't forget this one. And we're going to save. So you'll notice that my name is there and my comment is there. So that's exactly what the student will see when they log in. They'll see that you made a comment, who the comment was made by, and what the comment was. You'll notice too this header that says toggle names and dates. If you turn this on, you as the teacher can come in and see when those items were marked off. You don't have to see that. So if it's not something that you want to see, if it just clutters your screen, you're welcome to turn that off. Now let's go and look at the other way that you can create a checklist. So we're going to create a new checklist again. My editing is already on. I'm going to add an activity, and I'm going to select a checklist. And this one we are going to call automatically set up, because that's basically what this section does, what this feature does. We'll add our description. We'll come into settings, and remember to expand it so you see all of the options. I don't want this to have any point value, so again, I'm going to mark this as 0. It will still show up in the gradebook. It will not have any impact on student grades, whether they include that or not. So we're going to go into this feature that is Show Course Modules and Checklist. Now my options here are No, which is what we did on the previous checklist, or Current Section or Whole Course. What this feature is going to do is it's going to automatically build a checklist based on all of the items that are either in a section, meaning a topic, or meaning every item that's in the entire course. So you can imagine if you have a very large course, using the whole course, that would make it an exceptionally long checklist. So we're just going to do the current section. And again, click Save and Display. So you'll see what happened is this checklist automatically has items already in it. In fact, it has my old checklist that I just created. Now, by creating this item, it adds a couple of features. You'll notice this little blue icon. If I click on that, it automatically takes me out to that forum, so it makes for easy navigation. So let's go in and look at editing this checklist. So those are all my items. Now you'll notice that I don't have the pencil icon. So I can't change the title that's there because that's automatically pulling from your course. But what you can do is you can hide it. So that item is excluded from the checklist, or it's shown in the checklist. So let's say I already have a checklist there and I don't want a checklist to be included in my checklist. I can just hide that. You'll notice also that I don't have the ability to turn on due dates. When things are automatically brought in using this feature, you lose the ability to add due dates. However, you still can add things manually. So if you wanted to add a new item to this, you can enable due dates that way. You just can't enable them for things that were brought in automatically. Then again, all of the manual items you can edit again, you can indent, you can outdent, you can move them around, or delete them altogether. If you have a checklist that you've set up that you no longer want to use, remember you can come in and you can delete it using the edit button. Or if you just want to hide it temporarily, you can always use hide just like you would with any other resource. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us with any questions and we're happy to help.